Welcome back to the Daughters of the Moon podcast. We're grateful that you can join us for another week.
We sure are.
And today we're very honored and grateful that we have Alla Kaluzhny. Didn't get that wrong.
You can correct
Almost.
She is into spiritual psychology and consciousness, health and healing. Writes her first book about past lives, reincarnation, and her soul's many journeys through lifetimes of trials, crucibles, ordeals, and everything in between. Each life has its own story and woven together, and they create a compelling tale. And the book is called Turning the Pages, and about halfway through. But it's amazing book that you've done. So welcome and thanks for joining us on our podcast.
And our journey here.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. That's been such an honor to be on your podcast and to speak with you and your viewers and listeners.
Thank you.
Wonderful. And so what inspired you to write the book?
I cannot say something inspired me per se, but the events in my life that kind of led me to writing this book. One after another, memories of past lives were showing up in this current life. And when there were too many of them, that I decided I need to put this in writing for myself to get clarity. What happened to me, the memory that I was having, they were just glimpses. It was just a little tiny, it's like crack in the window. And then when I started writing with skills that I have, hypnotherapy, channeling, writing, I was able to tap into these people who I was before and create stories.
Beautiful.
Very nice. Very nice. And I noticed in the book you mentioned Dr. Brian Weiss. And
yes.
I'm a big fan of his. I actually did see him talk when he brought out the past lives, many lives, past, I can't remember the title.
Many lives, many masters.
Thank you. Yeah. So, and that was really interesting to me too, just how that journey of these past lives come into us. And I don't even think sometimes we realize that.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah,
we're having that experience.
Yeah. No,
we don't. And Brian Weiss was instrumental for me to be introduced to this concept. And ever since I heard him for the first time, I even traveled with him on a cruise ship.
Oh, nice.
I went on a cruise because of Brian Weiss. I wanted to be in his presence. That was, I believe it was 2014, about 9 years ago. And that was a very lovely cruise. I got memories, came as he was leading the workshop. I got memories.
Wow.
Yeah. I remember the one that we attended where he put us into this kind of show what hypnosis was and take you back into the past. And he pretty much just went back into like when you were in the womb and stuff. And I just remember listening to it, and then I got out of it and I phoned my mom right away. I'm like, is this true? Did this happen? It's like, yeah, that's right. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing just how our minds can pull that past into our present.
Yes, yeah. And one of the chapters in the book was born because of the memory triggered during his meditation.
Yeah.
His past life regression, I would say.
Okay.
More correctly.
Was that the warrior one that you spoke about, or?
No, that was the childbirth.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So do you think that pulling these past lives and recognizing them, do you think that helps you in this current life, being able to reflect on those?
Yes, it helped me. If you read it, you saw my challenges with the lower back pain.
Mm-hmm.
And that was also a crack in the window for me to look what's going on, because I could not find any any relief from going to the doctors or going to acupuncturist and treating my back pain in a different way. So then I started looking into past lives, and that's how exploration also began.
And did that help your back pain at the end as well?
It helped me. I cannot say that I completely healed myself from back pain. That would not be correct. But I can tell you that it subsided significantly.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful. And I think that's what the listeners want to know too, is how much going into our past lives can help them in this life right now to, pull them forward and move them forward so they can do the things that they need to do that's been holding them back. So this is good information for us and for the listeners as well. Beautiful.
Yeah.
If
As well as relationship issues, because we travel in pods. Our souls travel together. And so we have some unresolved issues with some either relatives or friends or somebody who we just cannot get rid of
Mhm.
as much as we'd like to.
Yeah, right.
So when I looked into one specific relationship and I saw where the origins were coming from, and I wrote this in a chapter as well. So I was able to release this relationship, forgive myself for not allowing me to do it sooner.
Yeah. And I think that's important because I think we're so connected in these past lives and in our current lives, and we don't always realize by releasing that and forgiving ourselves that doesn't mean the person actually has to leave our lives, but it does give us some sense of peace with it.
right.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Especially because I think in your case it was your mom, right? That you had the relationship.
My mom, my mom, but that was not that relationship. You cannot completely, disconnect yourself from your parents. That was a friendship that I talk about in a chapter of love-hate relationship.
Oh, yes, right. Sorry. It's all I
Yes,
I
I know.
was kind of power reading it. I read some of it.
And with my mom, it was interesting because during the Brian Weiss past life regression, this is the childbirth when the person who I was before died during the childbirth. I was able to recognize that my mother-in-law's lifetime was a midwife who did not stop the bleeding, and I died.
Okay, interesting. That's interesting.
A very interesting connection.
Yeah.
That it did not, it's all fascinating, I can tell you, how we connected and how I was able to connect the dots to my dog, if you remember the chapter about my dog.
It's so, are you saying in the past lives then, we have a chain of events that happen in our lifetime, and some of them needs to be cut off so we can extend ourselves and move on to the other side of where we should be. So if you connect to your past life, the chain of events that we're experiencing now, we can go back into a past life and stop those chain of events from happening now, to reoccurring.
We can reframe it.
Okay.
We don't have to have the tragic end. We can look at the events because everything happening now, that those were past lives. Even yesterday was past.
Right.
But if something happened, we can reframe. We have a power in our mind to reframe what happened to a positive outcome. I can give you one example from the book that I'm writing right now, not from turning the pages. I traced my relationship, my friendship, and in that relationship, the lady who I was friends with, we were sisters in another life. And we had a very mean and abusive father figure. Was very dramatic for me to write. And then I found out that I can change the ending. And I did. And I made him a nice person, that he was working for us. He was doing things for us. And it completely changed the energy for me in the chapter and for her when she was reading the chapter as well. So it was very beneficial.
So how,
We can do a different ending.
okay, so what you're saying is because of that, your progression now is different from what it was yesterday of how you feel about what
It could be.
okay,
It could be.
okay. Because I think that part's interesting for people to know how it can help them today, you know, by getting rid of some of the thought or connecting to our past so we understand it in a better way today. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, I think the very first thing is it's attainable goal to go into past lives. But remember, I had years of study and different education in different modalities that helped me to get to this point. I think what would help your listeners and your viewers, first of all, is to be able to listen to the intuition, to connect with their inner voice, that small voice that we all have inside. And little by little, pay more attention to this voice. I think that's the beginning of the journey.
Mhm. So do you facilitate past life regressions with people, or you're just sharing your experiences that you're remembering to give that knowledge to people about what's available to us?
What I do is I'm a certified oracle card reader,
Okay.
and I am helping people to connect to their past lives through the oracle cards.
Okay.
I use oracle cards designed by Brian Weiss and Doreen Virtue,
Mhm.
and past life oracle cards, and I help people who are willing to connect with their past lives
Oh,
through
that's
reading.
amazing.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's amazing. Because I think that there's so much of our connection in anything I've sort of read and delved into a little bit in it, is some of our characteristics now are so related to something that has happened to us in the past. And I think it's interesting to be able to tap into that, to find out that part of yourself, to be like, oh, aha moment, right?
An aha moment, yeah. You like the aha
Yeah.
moments.
Aha moments, yes.
Mhm.
Yes, I can tell you about aha moment. It wasn't really aha, but it was a moment. We traveled to New York. We went to Ellis Island. You probably remember the chapter on Ellis Island, but I'll just tell everyone. When we walked in that building and then yellow corridor, I started crying. I was tearful. I did not know what happened. As we continued walking, I was continuing tearing up. And then I realized, I heard the voice saying, you were here before. When it came time, I continued tearing up during the exhibit as we were going from one room to another, seeing I did not have any other memory. For some reason, only in that corridor, I started crying. Later on, when I started writing the book, of course, I remembered that episode. It was very clear. It was a deja vu moment.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to connect with who this person was, who was walking, who she was. And then the chapter about Ellis Island was born. And many of us who are here probably went through this corridor as well as immigrants.
Yeah. Well, I agree with that. And, it fascinates me with the past lives because I read Dr. Wayne Dyer's book too, where he had the young children that he interviewed and they were talking about, picking their parents and coming to their lives and things that they remembered. And it always intrigues me, the different things. And, the young boy who was a fighter pilot, and just the names and the things that they remember is it's fascinating to me.
It is, it's unbelievable. That you relive it again and see what they've been through, like it's awesome. It really is.
Yeah, I also want to refer you, somebody referred me to the documentary that is on Netflix, and the name is Surviving Death.
Oh, we've watched that.
Yeah.
You
You
suggested.
watched it?
Yes,
Yeah,
it-
that
yeah.
was amazing too. Like,
Was it amazing?
Yes,
it-
it was a great movie. It
I-
was good.
yeah, it's just fascinating. And I'm glad that you wrote the book, because it's great to share those experiences, I think, so people can just know that that is in their realm of things to do, and to do I think in that book, although I find it hard to do a meditation when you're reading it in a book, as opposed to,
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel, but that's how I feel. But it's amazing to know you can do that, like through your meditation practice, or
Yeah, that's the skill. It did not come, out of nowhere. Years of University of Santa Monica in the School of Spiritual Psychology. It's something that I have. It's like a muscle. I can do it. And I also took channeling course with Christy Whitman.
Oh, cool.
okay. Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah.
She is. So that's also a skill that allows me to be present and meditate or channel at the same time.
Right. And that's really nice, because the information that comes to you that you can share with people then, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Channeling is phenomenal. It really takes you down a different path when you channel things coming in. It's interesting what you do and how you're sharing it with the people out there. And we want people to know that you can do this, and you through study and things like that, like you said. And we have so many talented people today that we can look into to find the resources that we need to find where we want to be traveling with this information, and how we want to be going and moving on spiritually. That's what it's all about, right?
Yes. 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 And it's to understand that we're here in human bodies, we're spirits, that we're spiritual beings having human experience, and not humans having spiritual experience.
yeah. Yeah.
I remember when the first time I heard this phrase, for me, it was like a bomb explosion. I stopped and I wrote it down because I've never heard this before. That was last century.
Yeah.
And it was really revolutionized my thinking. And when I came to USM, which is University of Santa Monica, and I heard them speaking the same language, I knew that was the place for me to find it home.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is like going home when you find that peace, right? It is going home.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love, and I think that's one thing we've been finding, like even with this podcast and reaching out to people, it's interesting, the people that like yourself, that you've agreed to be on the podcast, and the connection that you make, and just the energy that you share between each other, because we are souls, and there is that already, that soul connection. So
And it's a meant to be thing to share this.
Oh, yeah.
That's why we found each other, to be here at this moment, right? So it's an awakening for both of us, or all three of us, sort of thing, right? Is what we're sharing out with the others
Yes.
as well.
We possibly knew each other before as well. And we just reconnected
yeah.
in this format.
Yeah. And I've been finding lately, it's quite funny, because I've run into people and like just in some odd situations, and they'll say to me, oh, like we've met before. I'm like, not this life. Right. So like my soul obviously recognizing yours, and vice versa, but yeah, not here.
Yeah, I think too, it's the energy right around you. It's not necessarily the face that we're familiar with. It's
Yeah.
the energy that we're connecting with each other, that we recognize each other, right? Which is,
Definitely. There is a familiarity.
yes, it feels good. It's meant to be, right? Solving issues sometimes from the past too, that is guiding us on to where we are now, right? And finding that path, the footsteps in the sand sort of thing is where it's leading us. You know, it's amazing.
It's another word that for this is synchronicity. The events are synchronic. You saw me on another podcast, and then you did the research, invited me here, and then somebody else will see me and possibly invite me to their place, because it's a sense of community that we all have with each other, whether we in Alberta, in Los Angeles, in New York, or elsewhere. We are just one big community
We are.
of souls that are in the process of awakening.
I agree with that. And I think that's what we love, is that we can share space with wonderful people that have knowledge and different, backgrounds and what they're doing and how they're showing up in the world and giving service to other. It's nice to have this space that we can let that out and then allow the people to find the paths and the people that they need to connect to further their journey.
And make a difference. Make a difference.
Yeah. That's what we all want. We want to make a difference.
Yes,
We
we
do.
do. We definitely do.
Because this world needs us light workers out there to show them the way. And if they want to be shown the way, it's up to them to reach out. We're trying to give them enough information through this that they can take their footsteps to walk where they need to go, right? Synchronicity, like you said, providing us to move in the fashion where we are meant to be. We're meant to be somewhere, and we need to follow that. And that's intuitive, right? So the more we find our intuition and rely on it and believe in it, then we can grasp and follow some of the things you're doing and others what they're doing. Yeah, it's beautiful.
That's why it's important to listen to yourself. Everyone who is listening right now, please listen to yourself. You are your best friend, and you are your best teacher. Listen to your own guidance. Just the fact that you're here listening to this interview, this podcast, this conversation is not a coincidence.
That's right.
Yeah, that's an amazing message, because I think we often don't listen to our inner higher self, right? And know that we have that connection, especially as we're first stepping into learning about our spirituality and where we are in place in this big vastness.
We get so much.
And I love too that, right, we're drawn to people, and I think, like even our animals in our lives, and like you were showing us your dogs before this, and I think it's great because I feel like, now there's such an animal human connection that there wasn't in the past the same way.
Yes.
Because we're being open to feeling their energy as well.
And we need it. We need it. We need that energy too. Because I know with my last dog that's just passed, her name was Angel. We had such a closeness, but she was around for a long time, 15 years, and we had an understanding. People don't understand how you can actually have that strong connection with an animal, but you really, really do. And they teach us lots in the time that we've had them, from being a puppy to the time that they leave this world, right? I think the thing that gets me is a lot of people say, it's okay to talk to yourself, but you just can't answer. And I go, really? I answer myself all the time. I'm constantly answering myself. Does that mean I'm crazy? No, it just means that I have a good understanding with my own self, that I can have those communications or talk to myself and get the answers I'm looking for,
Exactly.
But so I find it funny when people say, well, just don't answer yourself. Well, I guess I'm already out there because I answer a lot.
It's me, myself, and I, and whatever I can talk to me, myself, and I at different times.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you give yourself the information you really want to hear,
Right.
versus somebody else giving you what you really don't want to hear, right? And it gives you the chance to think about it too afterwards, like, yeah, well, I'm not really into that. Right? Or I am. Yes, that's cool.
As I said before, we know the answers we carry within ourselves is just a matter of asking and listening, or sometimes not even asking. Sometimes sometimes the guidance is given to us.
For no
We
reason.
just don't listen.
Yeah, I used to always say that. It was like, I need a neon light that you're gonna bang against my head, because I'm probably not gonna see the flashing lights, but now that I've grown, and I think you're the same, and I feel like you're probably the same, is as you grow into your spirituality and learn the things that you do and start listening to your higher self, those messages you realize aren't necessarily external, they're coming from inside and from higher above you.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it takes us in the right direction as well, and where we need to go. Because what I find too is, as my spirituality is getting stronger, when I'm in a situation where I don't really want to be, I find that my spirituality can take me and send me somewhere else, even while I'm still talking to somebody. Sometimes it's because my spirit's saying, you don't need that, you need this, right?
Mhm.
So you do have a tendency to walk that way right away, where in the past I would feel, oh, I need to stay there, where now I know I don't have to. I can get the things that I want to listen to and be comfortable with it versus the crap. Intuition.
And our body is the best indicator for guiding us what to do. If we are at the job that we dislike, or the relationship that is not beneficial, or something else, the body is always gives us signs. And I have stories in the book and stories outside the book about how body was telling me, and I did not listen. And it until it screams.
It does scream at us. Kicks us in the pants sometimes. Yeah.
Well, because we also have, I don't know, I can speak for myself, that I have the stubborn streak that I want to, I don't want to listen, so I'm avoiding. I think one of the qualities that we have,
Yeah. Well,
stubbornness and avoidance.
yeah. And then you
And-
just have to keep facing those same things until you quit being so stubborn and avoid them, right?
Yeah.
Take the long route, and we realize we've taken the long route when we could have taken a shorter way of getting there just by listening, right?
Yes, and it's also what came to me. I just saw that image that I want to bring it up since we're talking about it, is how important to watch our language, what we say, what we actually always, sometimes what we think, because thinking also can get us in trouble, but what we say
Yeah.
is even more important. And I remember when I was at USM, we had a large 200 plus people in the classroom, and one young woman said that she kept saying, I want a break, because either relationship, it was many years ago, I don't remember, or the job, but she kept saying she wanted a break. A break. And then she raised her arm and she had a cast on her arm. And she said, I got the break.
Yeah.
That's true. Hey?
It goes back to that whole be careful what you wish for, right? And
yes.
I think with our words, we're saying that. And I mean, I did like that with Christy Whitman when like some of the things that I've heard her talk about, and she's very big into that as well. Listen to your words and what you're saying.
It was so true.
Yes.
So true.
Yes.
Get us in trouble.
Because we create our reality, and unwillingly, most of the time, we create what we do not want to have.
Yes.
Yes.
Just by not.
And it again comes to our awareness and at what awakening point or level we are, that we can say something and we catch ourselves and say, cancel.
No, I mean that, or how many times do you say something? No, not that way. You know, I didn't mean that like that. Let's clear this up right now. And I think that's part of being spiritual too, is you connect, you realize you've done it already and you have to change it to make it right, right? It takes us a long time to learn that though.
You want the
Yes.
little Men in Black thing that's like cancel, delete. I didn't.
But it's fun at the same time.
So do you find with you say you channel, so do you find with your channeling, do you think that this is helping bring this information to write books or give you other information, or it helps you in your oracle readings?
Good question.
It does help with oracle readings for sure. It helps with writing, and it helps in a relationship as well.
Mm. Beautiful.
I think it helps everywhere. And I'm not, sometimes when I need to, I sit down and I channel by writing. That's what I do. And then I can send somebody the information that I received from whoever. One time, I many years ago, I was actually channeling the soul of a future baby.
Beautiful.
It was one time only, but it was very interesting. I still remember it. Somebody wanted to get pregnant, and it did not happen. So she wanted to know what was going on, and I was able to tap and speak to that soul.
Beautiful.
It's very interesting. But most of the time, I just get information, and sometimes I take it, and sometimes I don't take it. Like we all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for sharing.
That's so true, right? Okay, I'll think about that. And I agree about the writing, because I myself, I love journaling and I love writing, and I think you process it a different way.
Yeah,
You're more through the movement and things like that.
Oh,
It is interesting to me sometimes when I'm writing and I just allow it to flow, what actually comes through.
Oh,
so we have similar process.
Yeah, the pen's so powerful.
the
that
pen
way.
is very powerful.
Yeah.
Pen to paper, so they say. And how many
Mhm.
times do you say that to somebody while you're doing a reading or something? Have you ever thought about putting pen to paper? I don't know. I have said that to people.
Well, the reason is, and this is what I learned at Hypnosis Motivation Institute, that our hand, our dominant hand, is connected to the brain, to the subconscious. So when we write, we tap into subconscious mind.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Makes sense.
It does make sense.
And we have tap in there because that's got so much information there, right? Their subconscious mind. Another thing for you to think about.
Right? Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I love that about the podcast, because then it sends my mind in so many different ways, and ooh, where can I delve in further into that subject or this subject, because I just love all the different modalities that are out there to be able to just be whole with ourselves, right? And to listen to those messages that we're getting, and whether they're messages to share with other people or they're just to help us grow.
Yeah.
I feel like that's just a great process.
Oh, it so is. So is I met you before in another life.
Yes.
No, I
Yes.
have. I was just sitting here thinking of it, and it's like a deja vu that just happened to me just now. Just the look you had in your face there was like, okay, yep, we've been
Okay.
here. So thank you.
I want to ask you, as you were reading some chapters, did you have any of your own triggering memories?
I would say the burning witch one was the biggest one for me. I happen to know that is a past life of mine, because I have done some past life regression, like have had somebody do some past life. Yeah, so I found it really interesting, because there was some things that was like, oh, okay, no, but there was other things, and I was reading and I was like, oh, hey, that makes sense about these different relationships in my life. And so it wasn't necessarily a memory of my own, but it really,
Connected to something
yeah,
else.
it resonated to
Yeah.
the fact of, oh, okay, I bet you I need to do some work on that, because that's why I have this
Going on right
reaction
now.
to what I was reading,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
it does connect you to something else.
Yes. Well, wonderful. Because when I was writing, of course, I had no idea what is going. My goal was to get it out of my memory and put it on the paper. I did not know that anybody is going to be even interested in this book. As I noticed, people who read it, they had some memories, or even what, like you describing, made a connection to something that before it was not there. So I started looking at my book lately as a service project.
Okay.
That book is servicing other people who are reading this book in all different ways, because we all have different needs.
It's true. It's like when we do our podcast here, we're talking to you right now. And then when we hang up and we start doing our whatever, all of a sudden now all these things come back to you, and you get memories, and you get aha moments, and they inspire us, I know, because we talk about it afterwards. Oh shit, did you get that out of that? You know, like that kind of thing. And so, and we really get into a communication about it. And so it inspires us so much. And I guess this is why we're doing it too, is we're hoping the information you're sharing with us today is inspiring other people as much. It'll inspire us once we've hung up from here talking to you today. We want that information to transform into them too, so they can walk with it and do what they need with it. Because I know with us, we're just like chatterbugs afterwards. And, did you get that? And did you get that? Right. And so yeah, we hope that this is what, like your book, you're hoping that inspires someone down the road for what you're looking for. And that's what we're trying to do with this too, is your information is being further directed to where you're trying to channel it out to, because you are channeling out to.
Right. So people who are called, I'm sure they will find the book and read it. And I suggest, like one of the people who read the book said, well, now I'm going to read it the second time with pen and pad, because I want to write down what was triggered. As first time when we read, we just want to know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
The second time, she said, I'm going to be reading and writing what came up, what kind of thoughts and memories came up.
Right.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And you said you're writing a second book. Is the second book like more past life regression?
The second book, I was guided. I mostly do what I'm guided in this regard. Even to get a dog or a cat, I'm also guided. The second book, I was guided to write about the relationship, the long-term relationship I have with friends.
Okay.
I have a friend of mine who've been friends since we were 9. And I'm sure people have long-term relationship, but it's not relatives, it's the friends. So I have about, I don't know, I'm debating about 10 to 12 people who I want to include, depending on their behavior.
Right.
Whether I want to feature them or not, that's a big honor.
Right.
So
It is
but
a
at
big
least
honor.
10,
It is a big honor.
that's
Right.
at least 10 chapters. I am on chapter 3 right now. I have 1 complete, and 2 chapters are tough. And I decided to, I'm sure we traveled more than once or twice, but I knew I needed to stop somewhere. So I decided to only bring up 2 of the lifetimes of each person. So that would fill up the information. I think that will be interesting even for me, because I often think I have friends for so many years, and even if we don't talk every day, but we still have such a closeness that it did not originate in this lifetime. So I'm doing, it's another exploration.
Nice.
Right.
Well, I look forward to reading it once you do get it finished.
You
And
betcha.
can you tell our listeners where they can find your information, where they can find your book?
My book is on Amazon. I can, if you want, I can show you how the book looks like.
Sure. Absolutely.
This is the colors of the book. I know it calls Turning the Pages. The colors are very interesting, blue and yellow. And I want to tell you about the colors. If you read the book, so you know how I got an idea about writing the book, what needs to be in the book. And all of this happened in meditation when I was in my yoga class. I just downloaded within probably, I don't know, a moment, I downloaded all the information, including the colors. So when the book was already published with these colors, then I look and I realized that those are chakra colors. The blue color is for fifth chakra. It's the self-expression. It's speaking up.
Mhm.
And the yellow chakra is the third chakra is self-empowerment. So it was very interesting. And then when the war began with Ukraine, between Ukraine and Russia, and I am from Ukraine, I'm from the Soviet Union, but from Kiev. So that even gave a different meaning because Ukrainian flag is yellow and blue.
Mhm.
Wow.
So it's it's made other connections that I did not even they were not even close for me to understand why I downloaded those colors.
Beautiful.
Right. No, that's beautiful. Well, I suggest people read it because
Interesting.
yeah,
Very interesting read.
we really enjoyed it, and we're very grateful that you could come on our podcast and talk to us. And I know they can find you on your website, which is just under your name, because that's how I found
Yes,
partly how I found some information about you. And yeah,
they can find it on Amazon. It's on
Yeah.
Amazon. It's Barnes Noble. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well,
And now it's in a library. At least one library has my book in Los Angeles County,
oh,
in
nice.
Altadena. They have my book now, so it's entered the library world.
Oh, very nice. That's a great thing, because I mean, I love libraries because they just
The knowledge there is amazing.
how expansive
And-
our minds can become because of them when there's people that can't afford a book, and
Mhm.
just I think library is such an important part.
Right. And if you guys, well, now it's in the first library. So if you don't want to buy, you can just go to the library and say, I would like you to order this book.
Absolutely.
And they will order for you.
That's right. So
And
But
I just want you to read the book.
exactly, right? Everybody read it.
Yes.
And then would you be open if people read your book to email you or touch base with you with share their stories with you?
Well, that's funny that you ask because this is my idea for the next book.
Well, there you go. Free advertisement.
I know you're psychic too.
Yeah,
we like to be there.
Pull into.
Yes, absolutely. If they read the book, they find it inspiring, and they have their memory triggered about something, I would love them to connect with me on my website, write about it, because for the future, again, I was guided to write a third book with interviewing people who remembered something, because I want to do it like a case study of what people remember reading the book.
Wonderful. Well, we are so grateful that you could join us
Very
today
much.
on our podcast. You amazing person, love the energy.
Beautiful
and
energy.
I
Thank
hope
you.
everybody just reads your book and gets a hold of you to tell them your experiences
And get inspired.
And so thank you so much for being on our podcast.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It was definitely a pleasure to speak with both of you and just exchange the ideas. This is the best thing. And my dogs did not bark.
Right?
They liked it too, see?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
They
was
were
a
in
bit-
energy.
yeah.
Meant to be.
So Thank you, everybody, for listening to our podcast,
And please love and like us.
and we will see you next week.
You betcha.
Thank you very much. All the best.
Thank
Yes,
you.
you
All the
too.
best.